Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So here we are from group 6. We'll explain about behavioral aspect of profit planning and budgeting. So before we explain about that, let me introduce our group member. The first one we have me, Ardi Kurniawan, my friend Agino Fasya Azmi, and Clara Maulina Sebarani. So here we will be discuss about the multiple function of profit planning and budgeting. The second one we have a behavioral overview of the budget making process, and the third one topic we have relevant behavioral science concept in planning environment. So the first one we have the multiple function of profit planning and budgeting. Actually, a budget is like managerial plan for action expressed in finance. It is short-term comprehensive profit plan that puts management goal and objective into operation. Actually, the budget is a managerial tool to guarantee the achievement of organizational goal and provide guidelines for day-to-day operation. If a company set a goal to capture greater market share, to increase profit or improve the image among consumers, then its budget must be committed to the resources needed to achieve that goal. The budget actually should reflect to the additional advertising and promotional costs needed to spark sales and boost the image. This should include the estimate cost of salaries needed to retain a larger sales force and more commissions that are intended to motivate larger sales effort. Actually, it should include cash flow estimate to take into account the timing of cash receipt for a customer, cash payment to supplier, and the anticipation of increases at first expense. And next, about the budget has several functions. So the next topics about function of the budget. The first one we have the budget is the end of the result of the company's planning process. The budget is the end result of the company's planning process. This is actually as a result of negotiation between the dominant members of the organization. They can represent the consequence of the organization on the objective of the operation for the future. The second one we have the budget is the company blueprint for action, reflecting management priorities in the allocation of organizational resources. This means that the budget shows how the various subunits of the organization should work in the direction of achieving the overall objective of the company. The third one we have the budget acts as an internal communication device that connects the various department or division of the organization with each other and with the top management. Actually, the budget has message flow from top management to lower level of the organization containing performance, expectation, and standard. Message flowing from department to department serves to coordinate and facilitate the activities of the organization as well. Actually, the message flowing from department to top management contain explanation of operational budget achievement or irregularities. And the third one we have the budget serves as a standard against which actual operating result can be compared. Actually, by stating goal in measurable performance criteria, this budget can serve as a standard against which actual operating result can be compared with another. This is the basis for evaluating the cost of performance and profit of the central manager. And the next we have the budget serve as a control tool that allows management to determine which areas of the company strong or weak. So in this part, the top management can determine whether it's strong or whether it's weak. This is allow management to determine appropriate corrective action. And the last we have budget try to influence and motivate manager and employee to continue to act in consistent manner with effective and efficient operation aligned with organizational goal. So that means that the budget has become management tool for planning and controlling activities for organization. And the next topic will be explained by my friend Clara Molinas Dorani. Clara Molinas Dorani, time is yours.
Okay, Ardi, thank you for your time. And now I'm Clara, and I'm going to continue the discussion by explaining our second subtopics, and it's about a behavioral overview of the budget making process. So there are three main things in the budget making process, namely goal setting, implementation, and control, and performance evaluation. And to develop a budget or profit planning, certain sequential steps must be taken. First, top management must decide what the company's short-term goals are and what strategies will be used to achieve them. And the goal is the result to be achieved. Strategy is a means to an end. Second, goals should be set and what resources should be allocated. So the goal is the quantification of a short distance from the goal. Third, a budget or comprehensive profit planning must be prepared, then approved by top management. So once approved, it must be communicated to the supervisor and the employee who will control its performance. And finally, it is used to control costs and determine problem areas in the organization by periodically comparing actual performance result with the budget goals. So human interaction is required at every step of the budgeting process. So the behavioral aspect of the budgeting must be fully understood to avoid the dysfunctional human side effects related to the budgeting. Okay, so the next we're gonna talk about the A, goal setting stage. So planning activities begin with the elaboration of broad organizational goals into specific activity goals. So to develop realistic plans and create workable budget, extensive interaction is required between the organization lines and the organization manager staff. So controllers and planning directors play a key role in the budgeting process. So they are responsible for the initiating and managing the budgeting process and for the assisting other line personnel. The next is about the implementation stage. So at the implementation stage, formal plans are used to communicate organizational goals and strategies and motivate people within the organization. So this is achieved by providing detailed performance goals. So for a work plan, it must be communicated effectively, so misunderstanding must be immediately detected and addressed. The next is about the control and performance evaluation stage. So once the budget is implemented, it serves as a key element in the control system. So it becomes a benchmark against actual performance and serves as a basis for management with exceptions. So it is worth pointing out that management by exception does not believe that only unfavorable variance need to be investigated. So instead, the manager should focus first on unfavorable variance. So okay, that's all from me, and the next discussion will be handled by Anggi. So Anggi, time is yours.
Okay, I will continue the presentation. The next material is about relevant behavioral science concept in the planning environment. Next slide. Here about the impact of the planning environment. So before we discuss the concept of behavior that affect the planning process or budget making, it is important to know the factors that cause variation in planning. The first is organizational size and structure. So organizational size and structure affect a person's behavior and interaction patterns in the stage of goal setting, implementation, control, and implementation in the planning process. The size of the organization is seen from the number of employees, sales volume, number of branch office, and others. While organizational structure usually refers to formal and informal relationship between members of the organization, such as the number of layers of authority, the number of positions in each layer, and the responsibility in each position. The next is leadership style. So in leadership style, the budget is seen as a management control tool created to ensure the conformity of employees to the exceptions of top management. And the leadership style is clearly facilitates control and coordination activities, especially when responsibility of tasks is clear. So this style is efficient in the case of language or cultural differences, but the drawback is doesn't encourage employee participation and can lead to pressure over excessive budgets, anxiety, to motivational disorders. And the next is stability of the organizational environment. So other factors that affect the planning environment are the external environment of the organization, such as the political and economic climate. And risk in a stable environment is very limited and allows the goal-setting process to be democratic and participatory. But meanwhile, the rapid environmental change will result in high-risk situation. Okay, so the next is the goal setting stage. After studying the factors that influence behavior in the planning environment, we now study the concept that influence behavior in the goal setting stage. So in this stage, the general objective of top management are outlined in defined and measurable objective for the organization and for each of the main subunits. It must be remembered that everyone in the organization is responsible for setting goals, and setting goals is responsible for achieving one. The organizational goals are strongly influenced by the goals of the dominant members of the organization, who have the control over the organization resources. So goals can be seen as a complex compromise of the individual or personal needs and goals that often conflict with each other. Next material is the implementation stage. So after the organizational goals have been established, the planning director consolidates them into a comprehensive official budget. The company's wide blueprint for action is approved by the president or the directors. So the budget is implemented through the communication to key organizational personnel. It tells them of management expectation, resources allocation, products, quotas, and time limit. So to create a working budget, all employees must learn to see as a positive vehicle for organizational action and as an improvement rather than a burden or weapon of management. They must learn to consider the budget as a managerial tool for planning and controlling organizational activities. Without such an understanding, even the most technically sophisticated budgeting process may become a drain on company funds and fail to improve operational efficiency. Okay, so in the implementation stage, divided by two lines. The first is communicating the budget. So the controller or planning director is responsible for executing the budget. This is achieved by communicating approved operational objectives to people at lower levels of the organization. This is sometimes referred to as selling the budget down. Many complex communication problems can develop on this selling task because the message must be understood by people who have diverse backgrounds and training and who work at different levels of the organization. So to mitigate some potential problems, the controller must translate the overall organizational goals into understandable sub-goals for each subunit of the organization. In addition to informing lower level managers of their responsibilities, the communication of sub-budget objectives is also intended to win the trust of lower level personnel. For example, if top management has doubt about the feasibility of obtaining organizational goals, this perception may be inadvertently conveyed to subordinates and encourage unwanted behavior. So the top management must ensure that the realistic goals are set. Then the top management can show confidence in creating a budget that will inspire the desired behavior in subordinates. And the second is cooperation and coordination. So successful budget execution requires the cooperation of people with widely diverse skill and talents. Each dimension of the plan must be carefully explained to those responsible for the action to develop in it a sense of their own involvement and importance in the context of the overall budget. It will also indicate the interconnected tasks that comprise the entire activity of the organization and will reveal the roles that each subunit plays. So planning cooperation between subunits, these issues should be addressed as quickly as they take to avoid more serious organizational consequences. And the coordination is the art of effectively combining all the resources of an organization. From a behavioral point of view, this means the incorporation of the talents and strengths of the participants of the organization and having them strive towards the same goal. To achieve this, the executor must successfully communicate how the work of each person contributes to the achievement of organizational goals. Okay, that's all for our group. If you have any question, just directly ask. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.